I try to keep my cool. These major media outlets, the only thing they want to talk about is CJ Stroud. I wouldn't mind this CJ Stroud conversation because he did play a bad game. He played horrible. I would agree with the conversation that they having. I just feel like this playoffs alone is waking everyone up to the racial bias that how the media portrays black quarterbacks and how they portray the white quarterbacks. Like everybody's starting to speak up about it. Like you see it all over Instagram, you see it on X. Like they're not even hiding it no more. There's racial bias in sports media. ESPN posted on X a graphic of CJ Stroud stats saying that it was like a rough day at the office or whatever, showing that he had 4 interceptions in the first half, right? Tell me why Saturday, the day before, America's quarterback, Josh Allen, had 4 turnovers. There was no graphic talking about his turnovers. The post they had about Josh Allen was saying, you got to feel bad for him. You got to feel bad for the guy who had 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles, threw 2 interceptions, and you got to feel bad for him. But the other quarterback who O-line is trash, I'm not letting CJ Stroud off the hook. There was passes that were questionable. I never seen a quarterback make his wide receiver tear his ACL trying to catch a pass. I never seen that before. If I was D'Amico Ryans, I would have put Davis Mills in after halftime. On Monday, Dan Orlovsky gets on Get Up and says 31 other quarterbacks would have won that game for the Texans. Because everybody knows the Texans, their defense is generational. And speaking of that too, CJ Stroud is who haters think Jalen Hurts is. I'm going to repeat it again. CJ Stroud is who haters think Jalen Hurts is. The only reason why I care about ESPN, Fox, FS1 is because these are like the major media outlets for sports. People don't understand the power of media. These are the platforms that push the narrative. You know how many people that only believe whatever the news saying? Like people watch the news to get their information. They don't do the research. They don't do nothing. They just watch this because of who they are. When these public platforms are pushing the narrative or only talking about this person, everybody's going to be like, oh, okay. CJ Stroud played a horrible game. He played bad. That video of him saying he's top 5 quarterback is after his rookie season is crazy. I mean, he's on his second OC right now. This is his 3rd year. They're already talking about if the Texans should move on from him. They're talking about him like he's a generational talent, like he's an MVP winner. But you know who they haven't talked about really? They just scoot right through? America's quarterback, Josh Allen. On Monday, they didn't even want to talk about him. You know why? Because his coach got fired. I don't believe in coincidences, bro. Monday came, I'm up early, watching Get Up, watching First Take. Like, okay, let's see what they're going to say. The only person that was trying to hold Josh Allen accountable was Cam Newton. Nobody talked about the Broncos winning. Nobody talked about the Pats winning. All they talked about was Sean McDermott and CJ Stroud. That's it. But nobody wanted to talk about the 4 turnovers that Josh Allen did. I just see the BS on how they did CJ Stroud compared to Josh Allen. I don't care what y'all say. They lost by 3 points. He gave up an extra 3 points right before halftime. Instead of just sliding, bro, instead of just sliding and going into halftime, he fumbled. He was carrying the ball like a loaf of bread. He was already down 7 points. And on top of that, he missed 2 passes that could have won them the game. He threw the ball to the floor on Shakir on that screenplay, and then he overthrew Knox that could have been a touchdown. Everybody wants to talk about, was that an interception? But nobody wants to talk about the 4 turnovers. You see what I mean? But when it's CJ Stroud, you holding this 3rd-year quarterback to a standard, right? Y'all talking about him so bad, saying that anybody could have played quarterback and won that game for the Texans, right? This is a 3rd-year quarterback on his 2nd coordinator. He's held up to here. But the dude that's 30 years old that you guys want to win a Super Bowl so bad, you guys don't even want to talk about him. It's this person's fault. It's that person's fault. The refs. The refs cost them the game. Now McDermott, he got fired because America's quarterback had 4 turnovers and choked. If you were on X on Saturday, you got people from NFL Network, these old quarterbacks, you got them saying they feel bad. Like these dudes talking to him like his dog died or something. I'd never seen so many people coddle a grown-ass man before for losing a football game. Dudes were like, you got it, champ. You hanging in there, you gave it your all. You just said that. Like, dude, come on, man. If Jalen Hurts lose, they're not doing that. They're saying you choked. You couldn't get the job done. You let your team down. Lamar Jackson. You let your team down. You couldn't get the job done. This dude, Chase Daniels, that's why I love this weekend, because it just exposed the racial bias, bro. It exposed all the bullshit. Chase Daniel, the longtime backup, the scrub, he said, forget all the turnovers. Forget all of how you gonna forget all the turnovers that Josh Allen did and that you feel bad for him? Someone brought up a tweet that he posted a year ago, talk about the losses on Lamar, and he can't look past the two turnovers. You can't look past two turnovers, but you could look past four of them. Come on, bro. You see all the different tweets people have when it's Lamar turning the ball over in the playoffs and with Josh Allen turning over the playoffs. Like, you see the bias. I'm telling you guys, look on X. It's all there for y'all. The racial bias is there. And the other way that the media is racially biased, I said this before in a video on TikTok. The media, they protect Joe Burrow, they protect Justin Herbert, and they protect Josh Allen. Josh Allen is like number one. And I'm tired of people saying they don't protect them. They criticize them too. Not to this extent. You'll hear a segment, like a 5-minute segment about what happened, and then that's it. You didn't hear much about Trevor Lawrence when they lost in the playoff game. He choked. Justin Herbert is about to go into his 7th season, I think. He's 0-3 in the playoffs. He's a top 5 quarterback, but he's 0-3 in the playoffs, and he's only had 2 passing touchdowns. There was a stat saying that Jawan Jennings, the wide receiver of the San Francisco 49ers, he's thrown the same amount of touchdown passes as Justin Herbert, but you don't hear nothing about that. That shit is wild to me, bro. But they don't talk about it. Joe Burrow. This man missed the playoffs 3 years in a row. Still top 5, right? The minute he loses the love for the game, he's going to quit. But when rumors start going around about Lamar Jackson, they've been hanging that shit over his head. Joe Burrow had the droopy face, look like he doesn't care. Wide receivers say he has to check up on him, see how he's doing. But his love for the game won't be questioned. But you see, when Lamar Jackson gets hurt, his injuries come with questions. When he plays and the team loses, his love for the game gets questioned. You see what I mean? When I watched that press conference when they were asking Lamar Jackson about, so you sleep in the meetings, right? Can you really play through the injuries? Are the injuries really real, or are you just, giving up on your team? Are you staying up late playing video games? Like, I watched him just sit there and have to answer those questions. It really pissed me off, because I was like, you're not going to ask that to Joe Burrow. You're not going to ask that to Josh Allen. You're not going to ask that to Justin Herbert. You're not going to ask Baker Mayfield. Even Baker Mayfield, you're not going to ask that. And speaking of Baker Mayfield, this motherfucker was an MVP candidate on the first 2 weeks. You know he didn't win a game for a month? He didn't win a game for a month. The MVP candidate didn't win a game for a month. Crickets. It's really sad. Like, I tried so hard not to make this thing about race. I just try to I made it like a sports thing. Like, I try to keep it sports. This is racial, bro. From the jump. Lamar Jackson, bro, before he even got into the league, they were trying to shit on him. Oh, wide receiver, running back. No, he's not going to do anything. The man won the MVP in his 2nd season. Then he won another one. Then he was supposed to win one last year. The NBA could give the MVP to Joker every year if they want to. He be killing. You can't deny it. But you know they're going to be like us, fatigue. I felt like they gave Josh Allen that MVP because they was like, look, man, this dude already won it twice. We got to give the America's quarterback one. That's how I feel. And I know a lot of people don't think there's no racial bias in the league, because we have a lot of black quarterbacks. I saw people who try to say there was no racial bias towards Shedeur because the number 1 overall pick was a black quarterback. You guys, that has nothing to do with anything. Black players still gonna get drafted number 1 overall if they're good. You know what I mean? Like, it don't matter. Here's my other issue. I never seen the media, I never seen people try to dissect a Super Bowl winning quarterback ever, like how they do Jalen Hurts. They try to debunk, dissect, discredit, whatever. They try to do that to Jalen Hurts, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a quarterback that been to the Super Bowl twice in 4 years. They still don't think he's good enough. And you know the crazy things they do? Oh, he's a system quarterback. They say he's a system quarterback, right? They try to push that narrative. How can you be a system quarterback when you have a new OC every year? He gets carried. Carried quarterbacks is Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson. If you know, you know. I call BS because he was on the Eagles before we got Jalen Carter. He was on the Eagles before they got Devontae Smith. He was on the Eagles before they got Saquon Barkley. If they would have had everyone we had when we won the Super Bowl and then they just drafted Jalen Hurts, then you guys can make an argument like, maybe he just got he just got put in a good situation. He was there before all the pieces came together. They try to discredit him on why he shouldn't be a top quarterback. I don't care for the top 5, top 10. I don't care for that conversation. I just want a quarterback that wins. At the end of the day, the whole point of playing this game, playing the NFL, is to make it to a Super Bowl. Everybody making it seem like anybody can make it to the Super Bowl. There's teams in the NFL, I want to say there's like 4 or 5 teams that's never been to the Super Bowl. How many top-notch players, Hall of Famers, that never been to the Super Bowl? People make it seem like the Super Bowl is something easy, like something you could get to every year. It's tough. How long has it been since the Dallas Cowboys made it to the Super Bowl? How long has it been since the Buffalo Bills been to the Super Bowl? How long has it been since the Washington Commanders been to the Super Bowl? So if a person went to the Super Bowl twice in 4 years, that is good. He has to be doing something right. So what? If he had Saquon Barkley, he made it to the Super Bowl without Saquon Barkley. He made it to the Super Bowl with Kenneth Gainwell and Miles Sanders. You guys, please tell me, them dudes Pro Bowlers? Are they future Hall of Famers? Please tell me that. I get the criticism when it comes to Geno Smith, when it comes to Kyler Murray, Jacoby Brissett, Jameis Winston. Like, I understand the criticism when it comes to them. Even Shedeur Sanders. But I don't understand when it gets to that top level. It bothers me how the way they talk about Lamar Jackson, the way they talk about Jalen Hurts, and now it's bothering me the way how they doing CJ Stroud. And the only reason why it bothered me the way they talk about CJ Stroud is because they still ain't talk about Josh Allen. They telling you to feel sorry for him. They treat Josh Allen like a Make-A-Wish kid, bro. They'll hold everybody accountable except for him. And I feel like a lot of people root against Josh Allen because of how the media portrays him. You could see how the narrative or the agenda is to make him the face of the league. You could see it. They don't want Jalen Hurts to be face of the league. They don't want Patrick Mahomes to be the face of the league, even though he has 3 Super Bowls. They definitely don't want Lamar to be the face of the league. You want this black dude that wears a shiesty, that wears grills with cornrows? You think they want that to be the face of their league? You're going to make a bad post for CJ Stroud, but then you're going to make a sympathy post for Josh Allen. You got to feel bad for him? No, you don't got to feel bad for him. When y'all ever say we got to feel bad for Lamar? Y'all said that's on Lamar because you know why? He had an interception here. He fumbled the ball here. But when Josh Allen overthrows, underthrows, fumbles, those are interception, you got to feel bad for him. And he's over here boo-hoo crying. That, I'm not even going to say it. Back to my Jalen Hurts point. I've been watching football since 1996, 97. I never seen the media try to debunk, discredit a quarterback for winning the Super Bowl. Ever. Never. But this whole season, you watching ESPN, you watching FS1, you watching all of them, and they're talking about, is Jalen Hurts really a good quarterback? Come on, bro. How do you get knocked for having good players around you? Nobody knocked Peyton Manning for having Edgerrin James, Reggie Wayne, and Marvin Harrison. I never heard people talk bad of Kurt Warner for having Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce. I never heard people discredit Eli Manning. I never heard people discredit Ben Roethlisberger for having decent offensive weapons and a good defense. You don't hear that. But when it comes to Jalen Hurts, he has a good defense. He has good wide receivers and a running back. He has a great offensive line. You could put anyone there. Y'all don't see the difference? That's the crazy thing about when people in the media try to say people don't pay attention or they ignore things. We watch y'all, bro. We watch y'all every week, every other day. We see the energy. We see how it's different. Like the tone and everything is different when you talk about one player and you talk about another player. I'm sorry, Shannon Sharp, it's a different tone when you talk about Baker Mayfield and then when you talk about Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen. It's a difference. That's why people call you out. The tone is different. The way they saying CJ Stroud let his team down, they should also say Josh Allen let his team down. I wouldn't say shit. I would stay quiet if that was the case. But it's not. The rest of the week, all you're gonna hear about is CJ Stroud, what he didn't do. They over here talking about like he played the worst game in NFL history. They've been saying all of that. They saying that any other quarterback could have did better than him. But you still ain't hear about Josh Allen choke. Just think if they would have won this game, he would have had a better opportunity making it to the Super Bowl. I feel like they could have beat the Patriots. The Broncos scored 17 points off the turnovers. 17 points. So if you take away them turnovers, the Bills would have won the game. But the media not going to do that. They're going to say the refs got it wrong. Or they're going to say you got to feel bad for him. But nobody wants to say, Josh Allen, you let your team down. Just like a few weeks ago versus the Eagles, nobody wanted to say, that's a pass you got to make, Josh. You got to make that throw. The narrative was, he needs help. But if that was Jalen Hurts, or if that was Lamar Jackson, the conversation would be way different. Nobody wants to admit the racial bias. They just want to say you guys want to make everything about race. Black quarterbacks get held to a higher standard than the other quarterbacks do. Josh Allen is about to be 30 years old. He's tied the record for the most playoff wins without reaching a Super Bowl. He has the most playoff starts in NFL history without winning a Super Bowl. Shannon Sharpe even said, so we're both arguing about who has the most playoff losses or something like that. But it's bigger than that. They even say Josh Allen is the best player in the game, the best quarterback in the game. So Patrick Mahomes, he just didn't exist, right? The guy who's actually won Super Bowls, he just don't exist, right? The guy who won Super Bowls versus the guy who never won a Super Bowl, never been to a Super Bowl. And you know what's funny about that? They said Josh Allen needs help. Patrick Mahomes led his team to a Super Bowl the year his team led the league in drops. This man was throwing to Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore. So what's Josh Allen's excuse? And y'all know since 2018, Josh Allen leads the league in turnovers, right? He's a turnover machine. And guess why they lost? Because of his turnovers. Can you guys agree that Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson don't get the same amount of grace as Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, the rest of them? Can we agree to that? If you don't want to take my word for it, do your own research, man, and comment down below.